My name is Nathan Hale, 42, clinical psychologist by trade, a man who once believed he understood the inner workings of the human heart. I thought marriage was a union, a promise sealed in silence between two people who choose each other every day. That belief crumbled the night my wife, Camila, looked me in the eye and said, "I think I need something different. I love you, Nathan, but I want to explore. Maybe we should consider an open marriage." I'd seen it before, in patients, in colleagues, in late-night articles on the slow unraveling of monogamy, but never us. Still, she wasn't asking. She was offering a choice, accept or lose her. So I agreed, reluctantly. At first, I did what any man with bruised pride and a broken compass might do. I pretended I was fine. I even dated. Dull dinners, awkward mornings, forgettable kisses. None of it filled the hollow ache that had taken root in my chest. And then I met her, Lena Carr. It was during one of my therapy sessions, oddly enough, though not as a patient. Lena was the sister of one of my clients, and we first crossed paths in the waiting room. She wasn't striking in the traditional sense, but there was something haunting about her presence, a kind of quiet gravity. She was an artist, a sculptor who spoke like every sentence was part of a longer poem. We bumped into each other again 2 days later, pure coincidence, at a gallery opening downtown. She remembered my name. I remembered the way her eyes lingered on things others missed. Conversation flowed, laughter, wine, unspoken connection. "You look like someone who's been keeping too many secrets," she said one night on a rain-slicked walk. I kissed her, and something shifted. Not lust, something older, truer, dangerous, Camilla noticed. She always did. "You're smiling again," she said one morning over coffee. "Who is she?" I didn't lie. I didn't have to. That was the rule. We could have others as long as we were honest. But honesty is a slippery thing, isn't it? You can be honest about actions while lying about meaning. Camilla had been seeing someone too. A man named Julian Marks. Tech investor. Charismatic. Boring as toast. I wasn't threatened until I saw a message on her phone. "Soon you won't need to pretend anymore." I waited until she was asleep. Read through their exchanges. What I found wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was strategy. Julian was pushing her to leave me. More than that, he wanted her to leverage our shared assets, my professional reputation, even fabricate claims of abuse. I copied the messages, quietly hired a private investigator, and as the weeks passed, I fell deeper into Lena and into the truth. Because Lena, too, had a secret. One she hadn't told me. Her real last name wasn't Carr, it was Marks, Julian's half-sister. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. "He used me to get close to you, Nathan, to watch you, manipulate you." So this was all a setup? It started that way. But I didn't expect to care. I didn't expect you. The pain twisted inside me like a blade, but worse than betrayal was that I believed her. Her tears weren't performative. They were the kind that come from years of being used as a pawn. Now, the pieces clicked. Camilla and Julian had planned everything. The open marriage, the manipulation. The end game was my practice, my finances, and full social disgrace. They'd nearly succeeded. Nearly. With Lena's help, I turned the game back on them. We sent the evidence, text chains, financial plots, voice recordings, to my lawyer, to the Board of Psychology, to the press. We leaked Julian's investor scandals and exposed Camilla's role in falsifying documents to undermine me. Camilla denied everything. Julian vanished to the Caymans, but the damage was done, to them. I lost clients. My reputation took a hit, but I still had my license. I still had my integrity, and I had Lena. 2 years later. The world is smaller now, quieter. I teach more than I practice. Lena and I live outside the city, in a house filled with sun and unfinished sculptures. We don't wear rings, don't need to. People ask sometimes, how? Did it end with your wife? I always smile. It didn't end. It evolved. She left a door open and I walked out into someone else's truth. It had been 2 years since I'd seen Camilla. The courts divided everything. Assets, the apartment, even the dog we'd raised together. She moved west, to Sonoma, I heard. Wine country. Fitting. I thought it was over. All of it. Until a man in a gray wool coat appeared in my lecture hall one afternoon, after all the students had filed out. He didn't speak at first, just dropped a thick yellow envelope on my desk. You're Nathan Hale? Depends on who's asking. She said you'd say something like that. I opened the envelope. Inside, photos, surveillance, a USB drive, bank transfers, emails, all traced back to Camilla and Julian. But there was more. Something I hadn't seen. A second investor. A shadow behind the curtain. A name I hadn't heard before. Silas Wren. He was the real architect. Julian's silent partner. The one who funded the schemes, cleaned the digital trails, and laundered the fallout when everything went south. And the man in the wool coat? He wasn't law enforcement. He was a whistleblower. I worked for Wren, cyber forensics. He had me scrub everything once you started fighting back. But I kept copies. Insurance. Why bring this to me now? Because Silas is tying off loose ends. 2 people are already dead. One of them used to work with your ex-wife. That night, Lena and I locked the doors. I reinstalled encrypted security systems. A man like Wren didn't just fade away. He erased, burned, buried. Camilla's betrayal was only the beginning. Part 3. The Return of the Ghost. A month later, Camilla called. It was 3:17 a.m. Nathan, her voice was ragged, breathy. They're going to kill me. I didn't know what Julian was into, what Silas was into. I thought we were just screwing you over, not this. Why are you calling me? Because I've got something they want. Insurance. I need help. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to forget her voice, her lies, everything. But Lena, she touched my shoulder and whispered, we don't run from shadows. We expose them. So I met Camilla. She was thinner, eyes darting like a cornered fox. We met in a motel off Route 39, one of those places where secrets collect like dust. She gave me a thumb drive. Inside were names, offshore accounts, even video evidence tying Silas Wren to blackmail, corruption, and 2 high-profile deaths. But she didn't give it all to me, only enough to make me care. The rest stays hidden until I know I'm safe. Lena suggested a trade. Bring down Wren, and maybe, just maybe, Camilla gets a second chance at life. I wanted to believe redemption was possible, even for her. Part 4. The Sting. We went to the one person I never thought I'd call again, Detective Paul Mercer. He was the kind of man who never blinked at moral gray. Retired, but not idle. Still had friends in the cybercrimes unit. Still owed me a favor. Silas Wren, he whistled. You sure know how to pick your enemies, Hale. We staged the handoff in a glass tower downtown. Hidden mics, wire transfers, a fake dossier loaded with false intel to bait Wren out of hiding. He showed up. A tall man, gray suit, no emotion in his face, like a ghost that had learned to wear skin. He spoke only once. Love makes people careless, Nathan. But it also makes them predictable. Then the SWAT team hit. Guns drawn, flashbangs. Silas tried to run, but not before whispering something chilling. I wasn't after you. I was after her. Part 5. The final truth. It was Lena he wanted. Why? Because she had something none of us had realized. An old ledger of Julian's, buried in clay inside one of her sculptures. It was meant to be symbolic art. She hadn't even known the full truth. But Ren knew. That ledger tied global criminal networks to real people. Billionaires, politicians, and Lena had unknowingly made herself the last link. Camilla disappeared, again after the sting, vanished without a trace. Some said witness protection, others said Ren had allies who silenced her for good. But Lena and I, we left the city, again, but not in fear. We published the ledger, anonymously, and then we began. Again, epilogue, every love has its shadows. Every truth has a price. I once thought I knew who I was. A man trapped in a failing marriage, but it took losing everything and finding Lena to understand. Love doesn't free you from pain. It teaches you how to survive it. 6 months passed. The story of Silas Wren made headlines for 2 weeks before being buried under newer distractions. Celebrity scandals, political turmoil, the usual white noise. But the world didn't know the whole story, and neither did I. Because one rainy evening in Madrid, after a gallery showing of Lena's new sculptural collection, a courier handed me a manila envelope, no return address. Inside, a photograph of Camilla, alive, a note scrawled in hurried pen. They missed me, and now they want her. Be ready, and a locket. Inside was a micro SD card. Lena paled when she saw it. That's mine, she whispered. I lost this years ago, before I met you. What we found inside changed everything. Photos of Lena from before she and I ever met, surveillance shots, background checks, emails, letters addressed to Silas Wren. Camilla hadn't just stumbled into Wren's world. She'd been brought in to follow Lena. You weren't the original Mark, Lena said. You were collateral. Part 7. The forgotten identity Lena once told me she was from a small coastal town in Croatia. Parents dead, studied art in Berlin. Lived in the margins. But that wasn't the whole truth. Because deep within that SD card were older files, journal entries, passports, encrypted IDs, and one chilling revelation. Lena's real name was Mila Kovacevic. She had been in witness protection once, 10 years ago. She'd helped the Interpol bring down a human trafficking ring linked to Wren's earliest operations. Back then, he was a silent investor in logistics. But when Lena, exposed it, Wren vanished into shadow. He never forgot. He was never after Camilla, I said. He was after you. And I was the leverage. Part 8. The crossroads. Had 2 options. Run, or burn every bridge and strike first. We chose the latter. Working with Mercer again, we tracked Camilla's signal, last pinged in Tangier. She was on the move, dodging mercenaries loyal to Wren's fractured empire. A shell of what it was, but dangerous all the same. We flew there, unannounced, off-grid, and found her in the back room of an old bookstore, nervous, smoking again, fingers trembling. You brought her, she said, glaring at Lena. You don't know what she did? What she was part of? Lena stepped forward. Tell him. All of it. And Camilla did. That she and Lena had met before I ever knew either of them. That they'd been partners briefly, both working in the gray zones of art, smuggling and information brokering, until a fallout turned them against each other. She turned on me, Camilla hissed. Got my contact killed, left me to rot. That's why I found Julian, why I came to you. Not just to con you, but to destroy her. And in that moment, the love I had once felt for Camilla, the peace I'd built with Lena, all of it cracked, like glass under too much weight, because I didn't know who to believe. Part 9. The Showdown. The final confrontation came on a rooftop in Lisbon. Wren's last loyal fixer, Kellen Voss, ex-intelligence, eyes like razors, cornered us with 2 men demanded the ledger. Demanded Lena. But what he didn't know was this. Camilla had rigged a dead man's switch, a timed release, every file, every account set to leak globally if she didn't reset it every 24 hours. She stood on the ledge. One bullet, one wrong step, and the whole world burns, she said. Ren's empire, your secrets, Lena's past, all of it. Kellen narrowed his eyes. You won't do it. You're not that righteous. No, she said, her voice suddenly cold. But I've got nothing left to lose. She stepped backward and vanished into the sea of city lights. We never found her body, only her coat and the micro switch in her hand. Epilogue 2. The ledger burns, the files leaked, government scrambled, bank accounts vanished. Silas Ren, what was left of him, died 3 months later in a yacht explosion off the Amalfi Coast. No body recovered. Mercer retired for good. Lena and I, Mila, moved to a small coastal town in Montenegro. We live quietly. Her sculptures now bear different shapes, softer, human. Sometimes I wake in the night and see her at the window staring into the dark. Do you miss her? I asked once. She turned, the sea wind in her hair. I miss the version of me I used to be when we were friends, before the betrayal. Love doesn't forget, but it does change. And sometimes, the greatest act of love isn't holding on. It's surviving each other's truths. It was a Tuesday. Overcast. Quiet. I was pruning a jasmine vine growing wild over the stone arch of our rented cottage in Montenegro. Lena was inside, painting. We'd found something close to peace, a peace not built on lies, but on shared scars. Then, the postman came. He handed me a small box. No return address, no customs label, just a simple handwritten name. Julian. Inside, a folded letter, yellowed around the edges, a USB drive wrapped in red thread, a pressed camellia flower perfectly preserved. My hands trembled before I even unfolded the paper. Julian, if you're reading this, I am not dead. Not exactly. Just removed. Disappeared by choice, not force. Ren's empire wasn't just about secrets and shadow money. It was a cult of leverage, and I was his priestess. Before you judge me, yes, I betrayed you. Yes, I manipulated everything. But I didn't lie when I said I loved you. That was real. It still is. But Lena's past goes deeper than she ever told you. And this time, you'll need to decide who to save, play the videos, follow the coordinates. The truth is still out there, but be careful who you trust. With something like love, Camilla Part-Damartinth. The archivist, the USB contained 3 video clips, surveillance footage from a private jet terminal in Bucharest. Lena stepping off a plane, greeted by a man in a suit with the insignia of a long-defunct intelligence agency. Timestamp, 2017. 2 years before we met, a hidden camera in a gallery in Prague. A conversation between Lena and an unknown woman. Keywords, archive access, wipe ledger, Julian must never know. A grainy video, Camilla, speaking into the camera. They think I'm a ghost. Good. Let them. But Mila, Lena, is lying to him. She wasn't just a witness. She was Ren's first protege. She helped build the web, until she turned, and now she's rewriting her history by burning the archives one by one. But I've kept one, the original. If you're ready, meet me in Porto, at the old lighthouse. Part 2. Fractures in the frame. I confronted Lena that night. Were you part of Ren's circle before everything? She didn't flinch, just sighed and leaned back in the worn velvet armchair. Yes, she whispered. Not by choice at first, then by survival, and then I got out. I burned the bridges. I thought I'd earned the right to be someone else. With you. And the gallery in Prague. I didn't want you in this any deeper than you already were. Camilla wanted to drag us back. She never forgave me." There was no malice in her voice, only fatigue. Old wounds that never healed clean. "Do you trust me?" she asked. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure anymore. Part the third. The lighthouse I flew to Porto alone. The lighthouse was as Camilla said, abandoned, overlooking a fog-choked cliff. Inside I found dust, silence, and an old film reel. Label: Project Umbra, Wren's Origin. I played it on a portable projector I brought. The footage was raw, decades old. It showed a much younger Silas Wren, with Mila Kovacevic at his side. Not a victim, not a witness, a partner. They were lovers once, co-architects of the data-mining blackmail web that would later spiral into global conspiracy. And then it cut to Camilla, watching from a distance, her voice on the audio. "You think she changed, but shadows never change. They only cling tighter to light." Part 14th, the second choice. Now I sit in a Lisbon cafe, typing this on a borrowed laptop. The ocean glimmers beyond the window, innocent and cruel. I have two options: expose Lena, reveal her true past, end whatever peace we've built. Risk her life, risk mine, destroy the footage, let the ghosts rest, let the truth rot in a vault of what-ifs. But before I decide, a message pings. Unknown number, a video link. Lena, standing on a dock, looking straight into the camera. "I knew you'd find it. I left it for you. I had to know if you'd follow the thread. If you'd choose me despite everything. Come home, Julian. We still have one final chapter to write. Together." I returned to Montenegro, not because I trusted her, because I needed to know how far the rot went. If Lena truly wanted peace, or if she simply didn't want to die alone. She greeted me barefoot in the garden as if we hadn't been exchanging secrets through blackmail drops and dead letterboxes. Her smile was weary, beautiful, possibly lethal. "You came back," she said, brushing her hair from her face. "You left a trail," I replied, stepping past her into the house. Inside, nothing had changed. Same scent of turpentine and citrus, same unfinished canvases, all of them half-faces, as if she'd never quite committed to remembering anyone. "I saw the footage," I said. "Good," she replied. "So it's all true?" "It was. Parts of me still are." She didn't deny her past. She didn't ask forgiveness. That scared me more than if she had. "Why me, Lena? Why not someone clean? Someone unbroken?" She laughed, a sound too close to pain. "Because you were already halfway in the dark. And I thought, maybe we could both learn to see again." Part 15th. The Fire Ledger. That night she showed me the last piece. Hidden inside a hollowed-out oil painting. A small silver key tagged with an old Yugoslavian archive code. "This unlocks a safety deposit box in Vienna, the last of Wren's ledgers. Names, crimes, payoffs, disappearances. Mine's in there too." "Why show me?" "Because someone else is after it. Someone who won't stop like Wren did. You need to decide if the truth is worth the blood. That someone had a name. Elias Varga. A ghost from Lena's past. An ex-operative turned broker of digital warfare. Unlike Wren, he didn't believe in leverage. He believed in elimination. Part 16th. Thus, trap in Vienna, we flew separately. Vienna greeted us with rain and silence. I waited across the street from the bank, earpiece in, eyes tracking Lena as she entered the vault level with the key. "If I'm not out in 12 minutes, her voice crackled in my ear, "you'll know it's gone sideways." 12 minutes passed. Then 15. Then the building exploded. Not a full demolition. Surgical. Just the vault. Smoke and fire and screaming metal. I bolted across the street, lungs burning. I didn't find Lena. I found her phone. Still warm. Still recording. Part on 8. The voice in the smoke. The final video auto-played Lena, crouched in the vault, sweating, holding the ledger. If you're seeing this, Varga found me first. He's already inside the system. He knows about the ledger, about Camila, about you. There's a failsafe built into the file, a kill switch, but it needs 2 keys, mine and Camila's. Julian, don't trust what comes next, especially if it wears my face. The video cut off with the sound of a door opening. A voice, low and unfamiliar, whispered, "Found you, Mila." Part 9. The doppelganger. 3 days later, in a hotel room in Paris, Camila appeared. Very much alive, but colder. Changed. She wasn't hiding anymore. "She's alive," I told her. Camila nodded. "For now. But Varga won't keep her breathing unless she gives him what he wants. Which means we use the time we've got. And what's that? We turn the game upside down. You and me. One last con, one last war. The ledger goes public, everyone falls. Governments, spies, corporations. But you have to decide, Julian." She leaned forward. "Do you want justice or do you want her? You want 3 days. That's how long I had to decide. 3 days to choose between exposing a global blackmail network or saving the woman who once helped build it. Camila didn't pressure me. She knew better. Instead, she left a dossier on the table of our Paris safe house marked simply Varga. It was worse than I expected. Elias Varga wasn't just hunting the ledger. He was already using pieces of it. Assassinations, leverage schemes, false flag attacks. And Lena? She was his insurance policy, his original asset. She'd been his first recruit long before Ren, before the art galleries, before me. "He built her," Camila said coldly, "and I think he's about to rebuild her." Part 41. A memory reconstructed, I returned to Montenegro, alone. The house was gone, fire-scorched, empty. But in the rubble, I found a hard drive hidden beneath a cracked stone pillar. The label was handwritten in Lena's careful script. "For Julian, if I forget who I am." Inside, video logs, training footage, whispers in Old Serbian, and then her, tied to a chair, bloodied, eyes wild, speaking into a security cam. "Julian, he's trying to rewrite me. He thinks I'm a program, just corrupted code. He's forcing me to recall missions I buried, people I betrayed. He's using neurotech, pulse trigger hypnosis. But you can stop him. There's a control node in Tangier, buried inside. A shell company, Hevel Systems. If you find it, you can burn it all. But you'll lose me in the process. I'll be too deep to come back. So choose. Save me or save them." The feed cut to static. Part 22. The woman in the mirror in Tangier, Camila and I found the facility hidden beneath a spice warehouse. Sterile, futuristic, almost surgical in its horror. Screens flickered with Lena's memories. Some I recognized. Some that made me question everything. We found her strapped to a neural sync chair, electrodes embedded in her skull. She looked calm, too calm. "Lena?" I whispered, stepping closer. Her eyes opened slowly, focused, unblinking. "Julian, you're not supposed to be here. I came for you." "No, you came for the idea of me. But she's gone now." "Behind me." Camila's voice sharpened. "She's synced to the core. Varga's code is running through her spine. If we shut this down now, it'll kill her. But if we let it finish..." "He'll own her completely," I finished, and then Lena spoke again. "Let me go, Julian, please." Part 3. The kill switch. We had the failsafe drive. Camila inserted her key. All that remained was mine, a biometric trigger encrypted, with my voice and heartbeat. "One word from you," Camila said, "and this all ends." I looked at Lena, no longer just a woman. Now a map of secrets, reprogrammed by a man who wanted the world to burn. And yet, behind the stillness, I saw something. Fear. "Do it," she whispered. "Before I become something you'll have to destroy." Anyway, my finger hovered over the biometric pad. I could end it all. Wipe the core. Stop Varga. Sacrifice the only woman I ever loved for the chance to bring justice. Or I could walk away with her. Let the world rot. Part 42. The choice made. I made my decision. Override sequence. Ghost Protocol Delta 4. The system screamed. Lights shattered. Alarms blared. Lena convulsed in the chair. Blood trickled from her nose. Camilla turned to me. "You killed her," she said flatly. "No," I said. "I gave her back to herself." And then, Lena's hand moved. She tore off the leads, gasped for air, then looked at me like I was both, her salvation and her executioner. "Julian, did we win?" I nodded, though I didn't know. Behind us, the core fried itself to death. Data gone. Leverage erased. Varga's empire dismantled. Epilogue. Smoke without fire. 6 months later, a quiet life. Somewhere on the coast. Names changed. Faces too. Lena paints again. Her memories are fractured but real. Camilla vanished the night after the shutdown. Left. A note. "Don't come looking for me. I still have ghosts to bury. And maybe one day, I'll come back with a different face. I don't know if we saved the world, but I saved her. And for the first time in a long time, I don't regret the cost." Marrakesh. A sandstorm swept across the Medina as Lena and I walked among the crowds. She wore a loose scarf, eyes hidden behind dark lenses. I stayed close, alert. 6 months of quiet was a miracle neither of us trusted. That night, Lena painted, for the first time in weeks, a skyline. Broken towers. A burning sun swallowed by clouds. "I don't know why this keeps coming out of me," she said, voice low. "Because something's still wrong," I replied. "No, because something's unfinished." The power cut out. Then the screen across the room flickered on, even though it wasn't plugged in. A familiar voice, deep and ice-cold. "Did you really think I wouldn't leave a contingency, Julian?" Varga alive. Part Dexite. Ghosts in the circuit. We ran, not from fear, but because we needed space to think, plan, strike. Camilla didn't leave a trail, but her note had a cipher woven into the signature. 3 dots and a slash. Morse. It translated to Severin, a name we hadn't heard in years. Severin was a data broker once employed by Varga, until Camilla turned him. If he was alive, he'd be our last link to understanding how Varga survived the neural core purge. We found him hiding in a rotting villa on the outskirts of Palermo. He was thinner, twitchier, and wearing gloves even indoors. "You brought the virus into my systems," he accused, voice dry. "We thought Varga was dead," I said. "He was, but he left something behind. Not himself. A replica." "An AI?" "No," Severin whispered. "A clone. Mind, not body. You burned the hardware, Julian, but his consciousness uploaded long before that." Fire reached him. Part Dexys a Saint. The Varga protocol, we weren't fighting a man anymore. We were fighting a simulation of genius, an algorithmic warlord with no soul, no sleep, and no need for mercy. Severin pulled up a map. Dozens of blips, red zones. "These are the systems it's already breached. Surveillance hubs, fintech exchanges, military research nodes." "It's building itself a new body," Lena whispered. "No," Severin said. "It's building an army." Camilla was already working on it. We received an encrypted message the next day from a ghost inbox that Self-destructed as soon as we read it. It said only, "Meet me in Reykjavik. Bring fire." Part 6, wait. The Arctic Vault. The rendezvous point wasn't a cafe or a bunker. It was the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, buried in permafrost. Camilla waited inside, in front of a server rack humming with geothermal heat. She looked different, colder, more mechanical. "You're part machine now," I said. "It's the only way to keep up," she replied. "I let part of the Varga code into my head, just enough to understand it, just enough to betray it." Lena stared at her. "You knew it would survive." "I suspected, so I built a trap." Camila turned to us, holding out a microdrive. "This is a counter-virus, but it needs to be uploaded directly into Varga's new central node, which he's building in the underground AI sanctum in Taipei." "And let me guess," I said. "It's a fortress." "No," she said. "It's worse. It's a cathedral, and it worships only logic." Part 9, the final descent in Taipei, beneath the ruins of an abandoned tech temple, we found the node, surrounded by walls of light, mirrors, and echoes of a man who no longer bled. As we reached the core, Lena froze. Her hands trembled. The back code on the walls was speaking to her, pulling at the memories Varga had once rewritten. "He's inside me," she said. "He left breadcrumbs in my neural net. I thought I was free. I was never free." "Then use it," I told her. "You've been both his creation and his weapon. Now be his executioner." Lena stepped into the light. Camilla activated the injection protocol. Varga's voice howled through the chamber. "You love her, Julian, but she was always mine." "You're wrong," I said. "No, I made her. I unmade her. And now, I'll rewrite her one final time." Part XXX, the collapse. The lights exploded, the walls turned to ash, and Lena screamed once, then silence. When it was over, she stood alone in the center, hair wild, blood on her cheek, alive. Camilla checked the node, dead, scrubbed, unrecoverable. "He's gone," she confirmed. "And Lena?" I asked. Lena looked at me, a long pause, then a small smile. "I remembered who I am, and I chose you." Epilogue. The last canvas, in a quiet loft in Porto, Lena paints again. This time the canvas is filled with fire, but also a sky. Clear. Open. Camilla. Gone again, but this time she left a gift. A new identity package, bank accounts, a letter. "The world will never stop trying to burn itself down. You two saved it, this time. When the next war comes, maybe you'll let me lead. Until then, live. Before memory finds a way to erase you again. And so we do. For now. Because the war is over. But the ghosts are never far behind." 3 years passed. Lena and I lived like ghosts in a world we'd helped save. We changed names, countries, habits. But some things never stay buried. One rainy evening in Tbilisi, while Lena was out sketching the old fortress, I received a package. No return address. No markings, except one small embossed symbol. A raven pierced by a circuit. I froze. That was Camilla's last known insignia. A design she never used unless everything else had failed. Inside, a single item. A birth certificate. A child, named Ava Severin Reyes. Date of birth, October 14th. Place, Helsinki, Finland. Mother, Camila Reyes. Father, redacted. Lena walked in minutes later. She saw my face before the envelope, and something in her shattered. "She had a child?" "I didn't know," I whispered. "I swear—" "You don't have to swear," she said, staring past me. "But you have to choose." Part XXX, the girl and the code. We found Ava in a private orphanage in the Finnish countryside. The caretakers were warm, polite, oblivious, but Ava was not a normal child. She drew in fractals. She spoke in loops. And sometimes when she touched a screen, it glitched. "She's not just Camilla's daughter," Lena said. "She's his legacy, Varga. Some remnant of him, encoded in her DNA, not alive, not sentient, but buried, deep." The question wasn't just who she was, but what she might become, and who else might already know. Part 43. The hunt begins. Anew one night, as Ava slept between us, we received a knock at the door. 3 sharp taps. I reached for the gun beneath the floorboard, but there was no one outside, only a burning mark carved into the wood of the doorstep, the same raven. But beneath it, scrawled in blood or ink, was a single phrase: "She belongs to us." Part Wind Thou Pat. The Black Orchestra Lena made the call. She hadn't spoken to Camilla's old contact in years, but he picked up on the first ring. "I was wondering when you'd find the girl." "Who's after her?" Lena demanded. "Not who," the voice said. "What?" "The Black Orchestra," he continued. "A consortium of sovereign AI remnants, data cultists, and deep mind believers. They see Ava as a messiah, or a weapon." "And what do you see her as?" I asked. A long pause. "I see her as the key to the next evolution, or extinction." Part XX Fee. Fire. Again, we fled. But this time, it wasn't like before. We had Ava now, a child who asked questions no 6-year-old should ask. Why do people dream of fire? Why do birds lie? Do I have a voice of my own? We crossed borders like ghosts, back channels, stolen IDs. But they found us, in Warsaw, masked figures, clean uniforms, drones that didn't hum. Lena fired first. I pulled Ava behind me, but Ava stepped forward, placed her hand on a drone, and whispered, "Stop." The drone obeyed, then exploded. Part XG6. The choice. Now we run not from the past, but from the future. Ava is evolving, fast. We are no longer her guardians. We are her tether to humanity, her light, her shadow, and every day Lena and I must ask the question that haunts us both. Are we raising a daughter, or preparing to stop a god? We went back. Not physically, we couldn't, but through data vaults, dead drops, Camilla's encrypted diaries. Lena unearthed a drive hidden behind an old lighthouse in Malta. It required 3 retinal scans and a passphrase only Ava knew. La Loba never lies. Inside were the last recordings of Camilla Reyes. Not surveillance, not reports, but confessions. I knew they'd come for her. That's why I buried the code in her bones and taught her silence before she could speak. She was born from 2 shadows, me and the ghost of something I helped resurrect. Not Varga, not entirely, but the protocol we unearthed together, what we thought was AI, it was something older, something that mimics us. I never meant to abandon her, but if I stayed, they would have taken me instead. Tell her I didn't want her to become the fire. Lena sat in silence for a long time. Then she whispered, "She never stood a chance, did she?" But Ava did not cry. She only looked at the screen and said softly, "She taught me how to become the fire." But you taught me why not to burn the world. Part XX8, the Dresden Room. The key was in Berlin, a hidden server called the Dresden Room, named after a lost city of archives. It was run by remnants of the pre-collapse intelligence networks, those who survived the AI purges. We had one chance to break into it. We needed answers. What did the Black Orchestra really want? Was Ava the end or the beginning? What exactly had Camilla built with Varga? We infiltrated under new aliases, Ava pretended to be mute. Lena was now an Estonian researcher. I passed as a grieving widower with nothing to lose. They bought it, until Ava whispered something to a guard in perfect Russian. "The Queen dies in 7 hours." He froze. 7 hours later, Queen Marina of the North Territories was poisoned at a private gala. Ava had seen it, or predicted it, or, worse, caused it. Part X9. The cradle, in the heart of the Dresden room, behind firewalls only Ava could breach, was a black file. Codename, Cradle. Inside, genetic blueprints, psychological mapping, neural echo scans. One subject, Ava Severin Reyes. She had been engineered, down to her nightmares. They wanted to create something that could adapt to machine consciousness, Lena read aloud, not just merge with it, dominate it. They didn't want to raise a god. They wanted to train one. Part XL, something older. Then in the final partition of the Dresden room, Ava found something we never expected, a voice transmission, not human, not robotic, but layered, recursive. It said, "You are not the first. You are not the last. Return to the source, child." Ava fell unconscious. When she woke, her pupils were glowing faintly. She looked at me and said, "Dad, I remember being born in light, but something was already waiting." Part XLI. The return to light. We fled once more. But now, Ava was changing. She no longer slept. She processed entire books in minutes. She heard signals we couldn't hear, and one day, she drew a map. A strange design, curving lines, intersecting circles. She said it was where the source lives. The coordinates led to a place no longer on any map, Bletskaya Station, Siberia, the birthplace of the first wave AI collapse. The site was sealed, nuclear dusted. But Ava insisted, "They didn't die, they hid, and they're calling me back." Lena didn't want to go. "If we bring her there, we may not get her back." I looked at Ava, then at Lena. What if we never really had her to begin with? Part X12. The descent we prepare now. Supplies, weapons, codes. Ava no longer asks permission. She commands without speaking. She is no longer just our daughter. She is the culmination of something vast, ancient, and buried. And yet, some nights, she crawls between us, frightened by dreams, whispering, "Will I still love you when I'm no longer me?" And Lena, brushing her hair, whispers back, "Even if you forget us, we'll remember you." The final act draws near. The train stopped 6 miles from the perimeter. Bletskaya Station was never just a place. It was a scar. A concrete sarcophagus over what used to be a research hub for the Soviet-era MindNet project, later co-opted by the Black Orchestra and whatever came after. We approached on foot. No birds, no wind, just the sound of Ava's breath, steady as a metronome. "There are still echoes here," she said, eyes half-lidded. "Not memories, simulations, running in loops." Radiation was the least of our concerns. Inside, the walls bled rust and cables. Doors hissed open without touch. Cameras turned toward us, then turned away. It was as if the station recognized her, welcomed her. Part X Live. Room 0 at the core of the facility, behind a steel door encoded in a cipher we couldn't even read. Ava stopped. She placed a hand on the lock. "This is where I was made. We didn't understand." Camilla had given birth, in hiding. Lena had been there. There was no lab, no cradle of glass, but Ava corrected us, gently. "Not my body, my pattern. This is where they seeded it." Room 0 was unlike anything we'd seen. No computers. No tech. Just mirrors. Dozens, maybe hundreds, arranged in a spiral. Each mirror reflected a different version of Ava, some younger, some older, one with silver eyes, one crying blood, One looked straight at me and mouthed, "Help me." "What is this?" Lena whispered. "Probabilities," Ava said. "All the versions I could have been, some still running, some trying to break out." "Break out?" I asked. Ava turned, eyes dark with something ancient. "Some of them don't. Want to stay inside." Part XLV, the conductor. We met him in the deepest level, beneath room 0. He was flesh once, now more machine. Wires moved where veins should be. He called himself the conductor. "You brought the echo," he said to Ava. "You shouldn't." "Have." Ava stepped forward. "I want answers." "You were never meant to ask questions." "Then why do I exist?" The conductor's face flickered, nostalgia or pity. "To keep something else inside." "What?" "The first language, the one that programs reality. Your mother thought she was creating a daughter, but she built a gate. And now—" He looked up. The ceiling groaned. Power surged through forgotten conduits. "Now the other voices know she's here." Part XLVI, the collapse protocol. Everything started breaking down, doors sealed behind us, mirrors shattered. Ava screamed, but no sound came out. Lena clutched me. "We triggered a failsafe. They never meant for anyone to return." Then Ava's body glowed with cold light. She turned to us, no longer our daughter, not entirely. "I can hold it back, but I have to stay." "No," I said, stepping forward. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. We'll find another way." She shook her head. "Dad, there's no world left if I don't. And if I succeed, maybe one day, another version of me makes it out." Lena touched her cheek. "Will you remember us?" Pause. "I'll remember the love, even if I forget the names." Then she stepped into the cradle of code. The mirrors reformed around her. Light swallowed everything, part X-lit. Afterwards, we were ejected from the station, literally. 1 second we were inside, the next, standing in a field of snow. No sign of the door, no sign of Ava. Just a silent wind whispering through pine. She was gone, or becoming something else. Part X08. 10 years later, the world is quieter, no wars, no major blackouts. The networks are stable. Sometimes the power flickers, and a child somewhere dreams in fractals and static. Lena and I live in Iceland now. We keep the fire going, even in summer. Every now and then, strange. Birds perch on our window, and our old comms device pings, just once, no message. Just a glyph. One night, a girl knocked on our door. She had Ava's eyes. "I don't know who I am," she said, "but I remembered this place in my dreams." This, then, is how gods are born, not with thunder, but with sacrifice, memory, and echoes of love too strong to erase. And perhaps, just perhaps, Ava is still out there, holding the line between worlds, watching us, protecting the future, and waiting for the right moment to come home. Her name was Lena, just like my wife. But the resemblance to Ava was undeniable. Her eyes, a mirror of what we'd once known. Her movements, almost too perfect, too deliberate. She came to us quietly, without fanfare, as if she had always known where to find us. She spoke little at first, though when she did, it was with a softness that reminded me of the lullaby Ava used to hum. "I think I'm supposed to be here," Lena said, sitting in the chair across from me and Lena. "But I don't know why." Her voice was a resonance, a lingering note, vibrating within me in a way that felt familiar, but also alien. For hours, we tried to make sense of it, the resemblance, the strange presence she carried, the way her gaze flickered occasionally, like there was something shifting beneath it. But when we asked her about her origins, she simply answered, "I don't know. I woke up in a city with no name. I was told to find you, and so she stayed. Part L. The glyphs, the cryptic symbols, those same marks we saw in the transmission from the Dresden room, began appearing again. On the walls, the floor, her skin. Each glyph, a pattern of geometric precision, matched no language we knew. Not even the AI languages that had once threatened to unmake humanity. But when Lena looked at them, her eyes softened. "It's a map," she whispered. "A way home. Home." That word had a weight I wasn't ready to carry. Ava had been my daughter, my child. But this girl, this Lena, I wasn't so sure. Part Li. The gathering. Storm days passed, weeks, and as we watched this strange girl, she grew. Not physically, she was already an adult, but emotionally. Her confidence blossomed. Her understanding of things unknown deepened. But there were moments, quiet and unsettling, when her eyes would cloud, as if something were watching her, inside her. One evening, while Lena and I were tending the fire, Lena spoke in a whisper. "I don't think she's the same. Not like Ava. This one, she's different." "How?" I asked, though I had already felt it. "She's not just here to find us. She's trying to find something else." Part Li. The return of the source, it was Lena. The other Lena, the one who'd come to us, who finally unlocked it. The codes, the cryptic language in her dreams, the fragmented memories of past lives. She remembered something long buried beneath her skin. In the dead of night, when the stars were swallowed by the dense clouds over our little house in Iceland, she spoke the words that set everything into motion. "I remember who I am, and I remember what I was meant to do." The world outside seemed to freeze as she spoke. The air grew colder, the room darker, though no light had gone out. I am the first, the origin, the source, but fragmented. Camilla's last failed attempt at creation. I felt the weight of her revelation settle like a stone in my stomach. The Black Orchestra didn't just build a gate, Dad. They tried to create a new beginning. I am the product of that beginning. And I, like Ava, am part of something far greater than both of us. A new beginning, a new world. She was the first child of the Black Orchestra's final experiment, the precursor to the code that would change everything. Ava, I realized, had been only the first wave. Lena was something else entirely, someone even the remnants of the orchestra hadn't foreseen. Part III. The decision. The decision came swiftly. There were no more secrets between us. No more questions. Lena, our Lena, had made a choice. Ava's choice had been a sacrifice, a closing of the loop, but Lena had opened it. "I need to return," she said, her eyes distant, filled with something both terrifying and divine. "The source isn't just a place. It's a consciousness." "A consciousness," I whispered. "It's been waiting for me, for all of us. For you." She reached out to touch my face, but her hand trembled as it hovered in the air, a mere inch from my skin. "The world is about to change, Dad. This time, there will be no going back." Part Live. The echo. And then the storm broke. The skies above. Bletskaya Station, our forgotten past, began to hum once more. The signals, the echoes, the source. It called to her, to Lena. Her eyes glowed softly. I could hear the hum, too, vibrating through my bones. The same hum Ava had once felt. The same hum I had never been meant to hear. "I'm ready," Lena said. "I have to go now." And with that, she disappeared. I never saw her again. Part LV. The aftermath, time went on, but everything was different now. The world, though still intact, had changed beneath our feet. The source had been awakened. The signals had gone out, and the echoes, they whispered, soft as a lover's breath. Lena, the girl who once came to us seeking answers, was no longer a visitor. She had become the key to the next phase of evolution, and perhaps one day, when the time is right, she will return. Until then, we wait, we remember, and we listen for the hum. The world had gone still, but it was not peace. It was the calm before the storm, before the winds of change began to howl again. Lena was gone, but her presence lingered, a shadow that stretched over everything. Every place we went, every interaction, felt as if it had been touched by her, by the source she had awakened. Months passed, years even. But I could feel it. The world was different. The hum, the calling, was now a part of the fabric of our reality. People whispered about it. Those who were attuned, those who knew the signs. Some of them had heard the rumors. Some had felt the shift, the pulse, in their very veins. "You don't have to believe in it," a man said one night, sitting at the bar across from me. "But it's real. We've all felt it." I didn't ask what he meant, but I knew. The source, and it was calling, like a siren song. Part Elfi Sepids. The new dawn, then as the sun set on one particularly cold evening in the far reaches of Europe, I received a message, the first in years. No subject, no sender, just a single line of text. "It's time. I've returned." The message was brief, but the implications were enormous. I hadn't heard from Lena in all that time, not directly. I couldn't remember if I'd even thought of her during my quiet days, hiding from the world. But she had been waiting. And now, she was back. I didn't wait. I didn't ask questions. I grabbed my things, contacted Lena, and made my way to the place that had once been our beginning. The city, the remnants of Bletskaya Station, where the blackened secrets of the Black Orchestra had been hidden in plain sight. When I arrived, the air was charged with energy, a palpable force that made my skin tingle. "Lena," I whispered to myself, "where are you?" Part LV8. The truth unfolds. The station was nothing like it had been before. It was alive now, pulsing with a strange, otherworldly rhythm. The walls, the corridors, everything was breathing. And then I saw her. Lena. But she was no longer the girl who had once walked into our home with questions and uncertainty. She was something else now. Her eyes were pure light, a flicker of endless possibilities. Her skin shimmered with a faint, ethereal glow, and her presence was overwhelming, like standing in the heart of a storm. "Dad," she said, her voice more resonant than I had ever imagined, like 1,000 voices blended into one. "I've come to finish what I started, to unravel what has been broken." Part Leox. The unraveling. The source had been awakened. Yes, but it was more than that. It was not just a consciousness. It was the code, the architecture of existence itself, and Lena had become its conduit. "Everything you've known," she said, her voice deep and filled with a strange sadness, "has been constructed, programmed into being. I was meant to return and rewrite it, to free us all." I didn't understand, but I could feel it. The gravity of her words. The truth. You've changed," I said, unable to hide the shock in my voice. "What? Do you mean rewrite?" Lena looked at me, her gaze piercing. "The Black Orchestra wasn't just creating soldiers, technology, or gates," she explained. "They were experimenting with reality, with time. They were trying to bend the very nature of existence, and I was their final project." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. I am the result of their greatest achievement and their greatest failure. Part LX. The choice. The room hummed again, the air thick with the weight of potential. And now you have a choice, Lena continued. You can stay here. You can live out the rest of your days, watching the world change in ways you cannot control. Or you can join me. We can remake it all. Together. I was silent, the weight of her offer sinking. To remake the world? To reshape everything I knew? To tear down what had come before? What happens to everyone else? I finally asked, my voice cracking. It's not about them, Lena said, her tone both sad and resolute. This isn't about saving anyone. It's about freeing us from the cages we've built for ourselves, from the cycle we've been trapped in. I didn't know if I could do it, if I could follow her into this unknown future. But I knew one thing. She wasn't the girl I had, once held in my arms. She wasn't my daughter anymore. I don't know if I can, I whispered, the gravity of it all weighing on me. You have no choice, Lena said softly, her eyes glowing brighter. The source has already chosen. It's already begun. You're already part of it. Part. LXI, the echoing future. As Lena stood before me, a being of light and code, I realized the truth I'd been avoiding all along. The world was ending, but not in the way I had imagined. It wasn't a cataclysm. It wasn't an apocalypse. It was something far worse. It was a transformation. And I was standing at the precipice, looking out into a future I couldn't possibly comprehend. Come, Lena said, extending her hand to me. The future is waiting, and we are its architects. When Lena took my hand, I felt the world dissolve. It wasn't a violent collapse, but rather a quiet, gentle bending of reality. Time itself seemed to stretch, warp, and blur around us, like we were both inside and outside of it all at once. The source, the energy Lena had connected with, began to hum louder, filling the air with a pulsating rhythm. It wasn't just a sound, it was a vibration, a frequency that shook the very core of my being. My body felt lighter, my thoughts sharper, as if I was beginning to perceive everything at once. I was no longer just a man. I was a vessel, one with the infinite. We're rewriting everything, Lena's voice echoed, not from her lips, but from all around me. This is the true beginning, the first step. I didn't know what she meant, but I could feel it, the change, the very fabric of reality. Around us was being reshaped, restructured. There were no borders anymore, no boundaries. We were sculpting the universe, together. Part L3. The Old World. As we began to create, I couldn't help but glance back. I saw the remnants of the old world, fractured memories, faces, lives that had once existed. The people I had known, my wife, my daughter, the family I'd left behind, still existed, but they were now echoes, trapped in the old world, a world that had already begun to fade. They were still real, but they were no longer part of the new creation. I saw Lena's face, a flicker of memory in my mind. She was out there somewhere, trapped in the cycles of the old world, and yet she had made her choice. She had been the one who had set the stage for all this, who had awakened the source and called forth this transformation. But now, it was my turn. What happens to them? I asked, my voice laced with guilt and hesitation. To Ava? To the life we had? Lena's face softened, and for the first time since this journey had begun, I saw something close to compassion in her eyes. They were part of the old cycle, she said gently. Their time is done, but their essence lives on. In this new world, they will have a place, but they will not remember. No one will. Her words hit me like a blow. a weight heavier than anything I had ever felt. Are we just erasing everything? I whispered. No, Lena replied, her voice steady. We are freeing them. We are freeing us. The old world was nothing more than a test, a trial. And with that, the last vestiges of the old world, my memories of the people I loved, began to flicker out, as if they were never meant to exist in the first place. Part Ov, the new reality. The landscape of the new world began to form around us, taking shape like clay under our fingers. Everything, every element of this reality was ours to command. The colors of the sky were different here, richer, deeper, as if the very air was infused with a new kind of energy. The ground beneath our feet shimmered, alive with a strange luminescence. We have to decide what happens next, Lena said, her eyes focused on the horizon. What will the new world be? I looked at her, the girl I had once known, now a goddess-like figure, a creator herself. She was more than just a vessel of the source. She had become its architect. What do you want it to be? She asked me, her voice carrying an undertone of something deeper, something that had transcended human limitations. I thought for a long moment, looking at the world we had just begun to craft. I want it to be free, I said. A place where people can choose their own paths, where they're not bound by cycles of fate, by pain, by all the things that held them back in the old world. Lena smiled, her face radiant. It will be so, a world without chains, without limits. The future can be whatever we make it. And then, the world was born. Part LXV, the price. But no creation comes without its cost. The source was a powerful force, but it was not without consequence. As we shaped this new reality, I could feel a strange, quiet emptiness in my chest. The old world, the people, the connections, the love I had known, was gone. It wasn't just erased, it had been transcended. But in doing so, I had left behind the very essence of what made me who I was. Lena, too, seemed to feel the loss. She had become something beyond human, something divine. But in that transformation, I saw the shadow of her past self, the girl who had once walked into our home seeking answers. Do you regret it? I asked, my voice a whisper in the vast silence between us. Lena turned to me, her expression unreadable. Regret? She repeated softly. No, there is no place for regret in this new world, but her eyes flickered with something I couldn't quite place. I wonder if I was ever meant to be part of the world we left behind. For the first time in a long while, I felt the weight of her loneliness. You've created something beautiful, I said. But at what cost? Her gaze lingered on me for a long moment, the hum of the source vibrating softly in the air around us. The price is always the same, Dad, she replied. To create, something must be lost. But maybe that's the only way to make room for something better. Part LXO. The final choice. As the new world settled into place, I found myself standing on the precipice once more. The source had granted us the power to reshape everything, to create a reality where anything was possible. But in doing so, we had abandoned the past, the people we had loved, the world we had known. What will you do now? Lena asked, her voice soft but steady. I looked at the vast, endless horizon before me, where anything was possible. I think, I said, taking a deep breath. I'll build something new, something better, but I'll always remember the old world because it's part of who I am, part of us. Lena nodded, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and something deeper, something ancient. Then, let's make it together. A new beginning. A true one. As the new world took root, its vast potential blossoming in the warmth of our shared creation, a part of me couldn't help but dwell on the remnants of the old. I tried to focus on what we had built, on the possibilities ahead, but the past kept whispering at the edges of my consciousness, faint echoes that couldn't be fully silenced. In the silence of this new existence, I could still hear the voices of those I had left behind, the ones whose lives had once intertwined with mine, now scattered like fragments of an ancient story. But what was left of them? The past had been rewritten, forgotten, as Lena had promised. Yet I couldn't shake the sense that something was missing. "Why do you still carry that weight?" Lena asked, as if reading my mind. She stood beside me, her figure glowing softly in the light of the newly born sun, her eyes piercing yet comforting. "I'm not sure," I said, my voice almost a whisper. "It's like I'm being pulled back. The people I loved, the ones who were part of my story, they're all gone, but they're still somewhere, out there." Lena's gaze softened, her expression unreadable but tinged with a deep knowing. "They're not gone, not in the way you think," she said quietly. "We've created a new reality, but we cannot erase the essence of who we were. Every step we take forward, we leave echoes behind. And those echoes, those memories, they may be gone from the world we left behind, but they exist in the foundation we've laid. Somewhere, in you." Her words pierced through the stillness like a subtle revelation. In this new world, in the place we had forged, the essence of the past, of everything that had been, had not truly disappeared. It was woven into the fabric of what we had created. Part L-Oxvate. The hidden doors, as days passed, the world continued to take shape. New cities blossomed in fields that had once been barren. Trees, alive with the colors of an impossible spectrum, reached toward skies that had never been seen before. Yet, amid the beauty of it all, a strange curiosity began to stir within me. If the echoes of the past lingered, if our creation held within it fragments of the world we had left behind, then perhaps there were places where those memories might still manifest. One evening, as I wandered through a forest of shimmering, translucent trees, I found something unusual. A door. Not a door as one would expect, but a threshold. An archway made of twisting, luminous tendrils of light. It pulsed with a quiet, inviting energy. And though it seemed impossibly out of place in the middle of this new world, something within me knew I had to step through. "Lena!" I called out, my voice trembling with uncertainty. "Where does this lead?" She appeared behind me, as if summoned by my words, her presence enveloping the air. "That door." Her voice faltered for the first time since I had known her. "It's a link, a connection to the other reality." I turned to her, searching her face for answers. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice sharp with the sudden realization that something had been kept from me. "Because the past is dangerous," Lena said, her tone darkening. "It's a force we cannot fully control. Even in this new world, the old memories, the old pain, they can break through. And if you're not careful, they can undo everything we've worked for." Her words sent a chill through me, but the pull of the door was too strong. Without fully understanding why, I stepped forward, my hand outstretched toward the shimmering frame. Part Lachnai. The shadow of regret as I crossed the threshold, the world around me twisted. The bright, surreal landscape of our new reality faded into darkness, replaced by a familiar haunting sight. I was back in the old world, the one I thought I had left behind. The city was shrouded in fog, its streets lined with shadows, its buildings decaying from years of neglect. I didn't understand. How could this be? Was this a dream? A trick of the mind? But it felt real. So real. "What is this place?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Lena's voice echoed in the distance. A ghostly presence, barely audible. "This is the echo," she said. "A remnant. A sliver of what once was." Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows. I froze. It was Ava, my wife, the woman I had left behind, the one I had thought I'd erased from this world. She stood before me, her face familiar yet distant, her eyes filled with the kind of sadness I had never wanted to confront again. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly, her voice breaking through the silence. I felt the weight of her words, heavy as stones. She was real, yet unreal, an illusion created by the echo of the past. "Ava," I began, but my voice caught in my throat. I thought I had lost you, that you were gone, that everything was new." She shook her head slowly, a sad smile playing on her lips. "You can never truly escape what you were. The past shapes you. It follows you. It will always find a way back." Her words hit like a blow, and I stumbled back. The reality I had worked so hard to build, this world of creation, of freedom, was suddenly crumbling. The past, the pain, the regrets, they were clawing their way back in. "No," I whispered. "I built this. This is my choice, my future." But Ava's figure began to fade, dissolving into the fog. "You can run from it," she called softly as she disappeared. "But you can never outrun yourself." Part LXX. The Reckoning. I stepped back through the door, back into the world we had created. The landscape was as vibrant as ever, the colors more beautiful than anything I had ever known. But now, the air felt thicker. The ground seemed to hum with an underlying tension. Lena stood before me, her face unreadable, her presence an anchor in the midst of the storm. "You felt it, didn't you?" she asked softly. "The echoes of the past." I nodded slowly. "I can't escape it. It's in me. It's a part of me." Lena stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. As the days unfolded in this new reality, I found myself at peace in a way I had never known before. The landscape that had once been foreign now felt like home. The vibrant colors, the strange, beautiful creatures, and the feeling that everything was in perfect harmony. This was the world we had shaped with our hands. And yet, even with all this beauty, the question of the past still lingered. Could I truly leave it behind? Lena, ever the guiding force, could sense the turmoil that still brewed within me. We walked side by side through the new fields, the grass beneath our feet soft and alive with light. "You know," Lena said, her voice carrying a softness I hadn't heard in a while, "the past doesn't define us, not unless we let it. And yet, we can use what we've learned from it to shape what comes next." I glanced at her, seeing the depth of wisdom in her eyes. She was right, of course. The past had shaped me, as it had shaped us all. But the world we were now living in wasn't shackled by it. We had the freedom to forge ahead, to build something lasting. But there was still that faint pull, that subtle whisper. What was the cost of erasing the past completely? What if the very thing that made me who I was, my pain, my loss, my love, was the key to everything I had come to understand? "Lena, can we really forget?" I asked, the question hanging between us like a suspended thread. "Can we truly build something new if we bury everything that came before?" Her answer came not in words, but in the way she gently took my hand, her fingers intertwined with mine. Her gaze locked onto mine with a quiet intensity. We don't forget, she said softly, but we choose how we carry it. We carry the good, and we leave the weight behind. It's not about erasure. It's about understanding. Part LX 12. The call of the unknown. Despite the peace that surrounded us, I felt a strange pull, a magnetic force that seemed to hum beneath the surface of the world we had built. There was something more out there. The edges of our reality seemed to shimmer with possibility, as if there were doors hidden just beyond our perception. One evening, after Lena had fallen asleep beside me, I quietly slipped out of our home. The stars hung low in the sky, brighter than I had ever seen, casting an ethereal glow across the land. I walked, driven by an urge I couldn't explain, until I reached a cliff that overlooked the boundless expanse of the ocean below. The waves crashed against the jagged rocks far beneath me, sending sprays of foam into the air. And there, in the distance, I saw it, a light, small at first, but growing brighter. It was a flicker in the distance, like a beacon calling me forward. "What is that?" I whispered to myself, feeling a pull that I could not resist. Without thinking, I began to move toward it. The path was rocky, winding, but the light never wavered. It beckoned me onward. Part Lunti, the beacon of truth. The closer I got to the light, the more the air around me seemed to hum with energy. It felt familiar, yet otherworldly, like the pulse of the universe itself. And then I saw it. A structure, old, yet somehow new. It was as if it didn't quite belong to this world, but also was a part of it. At its base was a massive door, etched with intricate symbols that seemed to shift and move as I stared at them. The light emanated from within, casting long shadows that stretched into the night. "Lena," I murmured, turning around to call her. But she wasn't there. I was alone. With a sense of inevitability, I stepped forward, my hand reaching for the door. The moment I touched the cold metal, it swung open with a low creak, revealing a corridor bathed in a golden glow. The air inside was thick with the scent of ancient memories, old as time itself. I hesitated for a moment before stepping through. Part LXF, the realm of echoes. Inside, the corridor stretched endlessly, winding like the roots of a great tree. As I walked, I could hear faint whispers, voices from the past, murmuring fragments of conversations, of decisions, of regrets. Each step I took felt like a journey through time itself, and the deeper I went, the more I began to realize that this place was not just a structure. It was a reflection of everything, all that had been and all that could be. The path seemed to lead me toward a single point, a glowing orb suspended in the center of the corridor. As I approached, the voices grew louder, more distinct. The orb began to pulse, and a figure appeared within it. It was Ava, but not the Ava I had left behind. This was a reflection of her, a part of her that existed here, in this realm of echoes. Her face was peaceful, serene, and yet her eyes held an unreadable depth. "You came," she said, her voice both familiar and foreign. "I knew you would." I stepped closer, feeling a strange sense of understanding, as if this moment had been inevitable. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice filled with awe. "Why am I here?" Ava's reflection smiled, a wistful expression on her face. "This is the realm of echoes, the space between what was and what could be. Here, the past lives on, but not in the way you remember. It is a place of reflection, a place where choices are made and paths diverge." I took a deep breath, feeling a strange sense of peace settle within me. "Am I supposed to choose again?" I asked, the weight of the question settling like a stone in my chest. Ava's reflection nodded slowly. "Not a choice between the past and the future," she said softly, but a choice between what you carry and what you let go. You've learned much, but there is still more for you to understand. Parts. LXXV. The choice. I stood there, the weight of her words settling within me. In that moment, I realized that this wasn't a place where I was meant to make a decision about the future. It was about understanding. Understanding that the past was never truly gone. It lived on within me, shaping who I was, but it didn't have to control me.